The tone of this game, like I said before, was set right at the get-go. I should have double chanced with Sceptile, or at minimum X-attacked with Sceptile from the start, and I didn't. Hello and welcome back to another installment of Pokefodder. First and foremost, I want to say if the audio quality is windy, if you hear background noise, it's because I'm actually recording today's installment while outside, and I want to apologize up front if there's background noise, if you hear the wind blowing through the microphone, whatever have you, but it is what it is, and we will press forward. So I went ahead and used materials for Blaziken. I actually used materials for Inti and Blaziken just because I had the material and I did not really want to risk buying more gems and possibly still not getting the Pokemon, and that's what it is. But I want to go over some of this new Pokemon, Blaziken, and its pre-evolution, and kind of give you my thoughts. So let's go check them out. So the pre-evolution of Blaziken is Combusken, and it actually goes down to Torchic, but I'm not really going to talk about Torchic. If you're interested, I believe it's an uncommon. It does 30 damage and 20 damage, maybe 40 damage as well. I can't remember exactly, but not really the subject of this conversation. Combusken is a fire fighting with no abilities, and it is a rare Pokemon with 2 MP. If we look at its wheel, it's got a 52 slice of weak spot kick, where the battle opponent gains weight 4. They also have 2 8 slices of miss, which will go down to, one of them will go down to 4, so 12 miss at level 5, and a 28 slice of Cyclone Kick, which is a 3-star purple that moves the opponent to the PC. Now here's something to definitely keep in mind. It does not knock out the opponent. It's very important. It moves them to the PC. So when you have Pokemon who can't be moved, or like, we'll just say Nincada, or we'll say Magikarp. Usually when they get knocked out, instead of getting sent to the PC, Latios or Latias, instead of getting moved to the PC, they get knocked out, but the first 2 evolve, and the other 2, the 2 Latias and Latias, get banished from the game. It's not the case when they get hit with Cyclone Kick. They actually just get displaced to the PC. Big difference there. I believe, and I'm pretty sure, although I haven't tested it, but I'm pretty sure that means that if you were to roll this Cyclone Kick against Deoxys counter, it would actually go to the PC because it's not being knocked out, and Deoxys D is protected from knockouts. So something to keep in mind there. What I like about this combination, and I liken it to the Grovyle to Sceptile, which is a fairly easy evolution because Grovyle hits so hard, is the Cyclone Kick is a displacement, so it will trigger the evolution into Blaziken, which is a great segue to go check out Blaziken. If we look at Blaziken, it is also a firefighting with no abilities, but there's a ton going on with this Pokemon, and I typically don't like to use Pokemon who have wheels where there's a lot going on. It makes it very unsure as to what you're going to get whenever you're using that attack. With that said, I would definitely, if you're going to use Blaziken, I would definitely pack some plates. It's a very strong, usable Pokemon, but the fact that you just don't know what you're going to get can lead you to need to carry double chance, or probably double chance, or X attack. Not X attack. X accuracy to make sure that you're getting what you want. Looking at the wheel, we have a 3-star Cyclone Kick, which when evolved becomes a 4-star. A 20 gold for a Jet Kick, which is a quarter of the wheel. I actually leveled mine up to 3. So base, you have 24 Cyclone Kick and 24 Jet Kick. 2 Mist Slices, and then a 32 Flare Blitz. If this Pokemon is knocked out, the battle opponent becomes paralyzed or burned. And it hits for 30, 140 once you trigger the evolution. A lot going on here. 12 Miss is a substantial amount. I highly recommend plates if you're going to run Blaziken. But here's where Blaziken shines. The 130 can stand up to an unevolved Deoxys. I mean, a unchain level Deoxys. And so if you get chain levels, you can start competing with some of the higher Deoxys, which already have chain levels. But it creates matchup problems because the 3-star purple means that Deoxys D can get sent back to the PC if it rolls its Psycho Boost or whatever the blue is. I think it's Psycho Boost. It's probably not Psycho Boost, but if it rolls its purple, it's going to get sent back to the PC. That's great. It's got gold that can knock out Deoxys defense, and it's got a heavy hit that can potentially hang with, and if you were able to get the evolution, you can knock out Deoxys A. So it's going to create a lot of matchup issues. Deoxys is still going to be able to respin you, but with so many different win conditions, the respin may not be as big of a deal. Still a lot of miss though, so definitely keep those plates handy. What I've done is I've created a deck here. And if you will remember in yesterday's video, I was saying how I felt like you could probably run evolutions, at least 1, maybe 2. I'm actually running a deck with 3 evolutions just because I believe Combusken and Groviles are so easy to trigger their evolutions. And then there's Phantup, who really is serving as, and it's going to get really noisy here for a second as a truck goes by. But Phantup is really there, A, because he's difficult to knock out just for any deck. But it's so useful against Deoxys decks. And then if you trigger the evolution, Trevenant is very difficult to play around as far as its wheel. And then I've got Rayquaza in here for mostly for the break energy. It does add an additional gold attack to my lineup because it's such a heavy purple meta right now. But I can break Deoxys from, I can hopefully render them completely useless is the plan, but I also want to be able to have the firepower and the mobility to compete against normal decks. All that being said, let's just see how this works. Cool. So we are going to jump in and get to, I say we get to play a Deoxys deck. I don't know that anybody gets to play one, but we are going a quasi-Deoxys deck. It does have Blaziken, it does have Zapdos in it. 2 Deoxys A, Deoxys Speed. And let's just see what happens here. Blaziken is relatively weak to Mew, so I would not anticipate him bringing Mew out, and he doesn't. Triggering my evolutions might be a little difficult. I'm definitely going to have to pick out, and I definitely don't want Phantup up against Zapdos. I'm going to have to pick out my matchups. Don't like that one. I'm actually going to go ahead here. I think that's not a terrible matchup. He's going to bring speed down. I need to look. He does have a hurdle jump and a goal block. But because he doesn't have another speed, I'm actually going to drop Rayquaza in here. Because he's not going to attack. We'll go with Virizion there. Blaziken also creates some difficult matchups, and as I say that, we get the nice knockout. One thing I did not go over with Blaziken is his 20. Let me focus here for just a second. I think I can get him to burn a plate here. Blaziken's 20, if it knocks out the opponent, allows him to move 2 spaces, which is useful. You can interesting. I think I'm making the right play. I'll go into this in a second. I think I'm making the right play here. Okay. It's useful because if you have Blaziken on your goal and your entry points are capped, he can actually go attack. If he gets knocked out, I actually want to do that. If he gets knocked out, he can go to the entry point. If he can win with his 20, it can actually send him back to the entry point, to your goal. Like I said, I do apologize for any loud noises. I would love to be able to trigger my tropical energy plate to relax those Deoxys respins. I hope that made sense what I was saying about Blaziken attacking the entry point and being able to cover back goal in 1 turn. Another slip. So that's beautiful. We are actually I'm doing that as a precaution, simply because I don't want Deoxys speed hurdling and then me not being able to cover my goal if he knocks out Phantom in 1 roll. Of course, Mew totally failed me there. That was a complete failure by Mew. This was a super unlucky roll, really. What we are going to do he's probably going to soar over. No, he couldn't have done that because then I could have surrounded him. So this was his only play, and he rolls miss. I'm definitely going to take the evolution just because I can, and we are going to claim a victory where, oddly enough, we went up against the Deoxys deck, but Phantom never came into play, Blaziken never came into play, Rayquaza's Break Energy never came into play, and somehow we pulled out the victory. That's the way the game goes sometimes. In yesterday's video, nothing I did couldn't get a knockout. Nothing I did seemed to work. I made a couple misplays right off the bat, put myself in a really bad situation. Today, totally different story where my opponent rolled slip. I was able to make some good plays, take over entry points, and put a lot of offensive pressure, defensive pressure if you're the opponent, on my opponent. And in the end, we pulled out a nice little victory. I'm very happy to have the victory. I don't even remember what my opponent was ranked, but all victories are good victories. So I think Blaziken is going to be useful. You just never know what you're going to get. And so if you want to run him, I think he can be viable. But just know that, you know, like with my opponent, he rolled the 20. And in the few games that I've played, I feel like I never want 20 to roll, so when it rolls, I notice it more, but I feel like he rolls 20 a lot. At the same time, every Pokemon that has strengths has to have a weakness, and the 20 is kind of a weakness for the most part. But it does have 2 strengths, a really high offensive attack and a purple that can send an opponent to the PC. That is going to do it for today's installment. Probably nothing this weekend. Get out there, play some games with some of the new Pokemon if you have them. Also, remember my Discord tournament is still going on. We are finishing up the 3rd tier, the Group C, and then there will be 6 spots available for Group D, and that'll be the cutoff to make it into the Final 4. So make sure you get in, play those games. There's a link down in the description below. Have a great Friday, and until next time.